shaking off the heaviness. I'm dancing out of my regrets. I'm throwing caution to the wind. Oh, I am not ashamed to praise like this. Some will say it's foolishness, but I say it's worth the risk. I hear you. I can't forget what Jesus did. No, I am not ashamed to praise like. Say where? Where are those chains that once held me? I'm free, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free. My sin is gone, how can it be? I'm free, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free. Look at what the Lord has done. I'm never going back to the way I was. I'll sing, I'll dance, 'cause I believe. I'm free, I'm free, thank God I'm free. Woo! I'll sing, I'll dance, 'cause I believe. I'm free, thank God I'm free. The cross, you took the cross and you broke your body. You shed your blood, now the sinner can't see. My debt is paid and my record is clean. I couldn't do it, so you did it for me. You took the cross, and you broke your body. You shed your blood, now the sinner can't see. My debt is paid, my debt is paid, and my record is clean. I couldn't do it, so you did it for me. Only you, Jesus. I couldn't do it, so you did it for me. Only you, Jesus. I couldn't do it, so you did it for me. Only you can do it. I couldn't do it, so you did it for me. Only you can do it. I couldn't do it, so you did it for me. Look at what the Lord has done. I'm never going back to the way I was. Hey, look at what the Lord has done. I'm never going back to the way I was. Say, look at what the Lord has done. I'm never going back to the way I was. Say, look at what the Lord has done. I'm never going back to the way I was. Say, look at it. Look at what the Lord has done. I'm never going back to the way I was. Look at what the Lord has done. I'm never going back to the way I was.
We are continuing in our series, The Church We're Becoming. And I am so excited for tonight because we're still in Ephesians, and I'm going to be preaching from the topic, how to overcome anger. How to overcome anger. But you know what, on second thought, anger is not always a bad thing. Anger is not always sin. It's not always wrong to have. So I reckon it's not just to overcome it, but many of us tonight, we need to lay it down. We need to lay down the anger we've been carrying. And so we're going to talk through how because Paul, been in Ephesians, and we preached through chapter 1 and chapter 2, and although our text comes from Ephesians chapter 4, we talked about unity. And you know the one thing that disrupts our unity in church, our unity in relationships, it's anger. It's how we get upset with someone. It's how we get mad at them. And so as we continue to walk through Ephesians, we actually need to take this moment to prepare us for chapter 3 and chapter 4, 5, and 6. So that's why we're spending this week and the next Beyond Sunday on how to overcome anger, because I really want to help us. I have been helped by this. In fact, so much, I got a text this week from a friend, and it goes a little bit like this. You can go to the next slide. So the text from a friend says, I swear I'm through with them. I'm not putting up with this again. I mean, I'm not wrong, right? I say, well, because, and then it goes on to say, the next slide, I mean, I know I shouldn't be this mad, but what do I do? What do I do when I get so upset, so angry, I go off, I become a different person. I don't recognize the man, the woman that I know I am, or that look at where he's brought me from, right? We go way back into where our receipts. Sometimes we don't know what God has brought us out from. But let me tell you, I got a resume. And on that resume, if you were to track it, you could see what God has brought me out from. You have a resume. You have one whom God is shaping and transforming. And I'm just kidding. No one in this church sent me this text. I don't be putting y'all business on blast like that. All right. So no one in this church sent me that text. But if you could go back to that slide, was that my mistake? Thank you. So it's, what do I do? Well, I say, depends. The question really is, well, do you want to be free or do you want to continue to be angry? We've been singing and talking about being free. That's what we're talking about in our worship song this morning. But the question for each of us tonight, as we're talking about how to lay aside anger, because we got to use anger sometimes, but sometimes it really messes me up. The question is, do you want to be free or do you want to be angry? You see, and so that's what's taking us into our text this evening in Ephesians chapter 4. It's about 2 verses, but verses 26 and 27. And go to the next slide for me, and it says this. Paul says in Ephesians, in your anger, do not, somebody said it right. In your anger, sin. That's what I heard somebody say. In your anger, tell them like it is. In your anger, do whatever it is you want to do. To him, to her, say what you want to say. Roll your eyes how you want to roll your eyes, because even though they deserve it, you got to give it to them extra fold. Well, that's what Paul says. In your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry, and do not give the devil a foothold. My goodness. Well, have you ever ended a conversation with maybe a loved one, a child, a friend, a coworker, a boss, a spouse, and you ended that conversation, and sometime a little later you said, why did I say it like that? Why did I didn't really mean it that way, but why did I say it like that? You see, or you replayed an argument in your head where you were right. Come on, that part, Rich. You were right. Right, but your anger showed up in your tone, in your sarcasm, or the look you gave. Well, your content is right, but how you show up in a relationship, show up in the world is angry. You see, most of us don't think of ourselves as angry people. And this is the part, when I'm sitting here preaching to you like, well, Pastor Brandon ain't talking to me, he's talking to the person next to me. Let me take note for somebody else. Let me take notes from my husband. Let me take notes from my wife. Let me take notes from my kid. Many of us, because we don't think of ourselves as angry people. We just think of ourselves as right, or we think of ourselves as misunderstood, or we think of ourselves, I'm just tired, or we just say, we think of ourselves as just being fed up in a moment. You see, but would you like, again, going back to that text, would you like to be free, or do you just want to be angry? Not free from ever feeling anger, but free from it managing you. Do you want to be free from the anger managing your life, managing how you respond, managing how relationships are dictated? Because here's the reality. When we let Jesus change all the dimensions of who we are, we can have freedom and have deliverance from everything that binds us. Let me tell you, I really believe that. I literally believe that. I believe that Jesus can transform me in such a way that the addictions I can have, or the binds I may have to spiritual things that are not healthy, or relationships that are not good, or patterns in my life, patterns of sin that are not good, I believe Jesus can literally heal me from them. I believe Jesus can take taste out of my mouth, can take ideas away from my head, or can give me strength to overcome the things and the obstacles and the hurdles in my way. I believe Jesus, who died on the cross and rose on the third day, can do it. Yes, he can. Come on. So let me ask you something honestly tonight as you think about your anger. If I could give you a pill that would enable you to never be angry again, would you take it? If that pill became available on the market tomorrow, you take it, boom, you are never angry again. Would you take it? No? Okay, we've got a lot of no's. Wow. I wish I had time to say why, but I don't. Talk about it over dinner. And you can ask your neighbor, hey, what, would you can ask them, you don't got to know their name. When you eating at a meal, you're going to say, excuse me, hey, my name is Brandon, what's yours? Hey, would you take that pill? You can ask them, okay, conversation starter, there we go. You see, because anger, it feels very powerful at times. And it has also felt protective. It has felt like strength. Anger has felt like the only thing keeping us from being walked on sometimes so that we can defend ourselves. And here's the thing, for me personally, I wouldn't take the pill, because I want to feel my anger. And there's a reason why. We want to talk about that. I want to talk about a bit of that tonight, because it's really what my problem is what's at the root of my anger. And really, because of that, we have to know, and I want to talk a little about what anger is. And what I'm going to do, because I'm making some shifts in my preaching type, because I'm looking at how much time I have left. And what we're going to do, I'm going to talk as the way God gave it to me. And if I don't get through all of it tonight, I'm going to stop according to the time, and we'll pick it up the next Beyond Sunday. Okay, so if you leave tonight, man, I didn't get everything, that's okay. All right, because we're going to pick it up where we left off the next Beyond Sunday. Instead of me, because I will do it, I'll try to get everything in the amount of time I have to give it, but I speak really fast. But I want us to sit with this, and I want us to really think before a God who loves us, and about how we deal with our anger. Because again, anger really, it is connected to love, and that's why I wouldn't want to get rid of it. Anger is connected to how we love. C.S. Lewis said, I put it in the text, C.S. Lewis says, and he's a famous Christian writer, Chronicles of Narnia, right? Anger is the fluid love bleeds when it's cut. Isn't that something? When I'm angry, it's actually connected to me. It's actually connected to something I love. And in order for us to get what Jesus is talking about love, and Paul is talking about about anger, we actually have to understand how anger works in us. And we understand how anger works in us, and then we see, okay, Jesus, what do you say about anger? What does the word say about anger? And how can, if we are willing, leave this room tonight or the next time with Jesus taking away, or we being willing to surrender the ways we have just uncontrolled anger. So we see that anger is connected to our love. It means anger often reveals something we care about and how it's been wounded. So when we are angry, it can be connected to how something has been wounded. Therefore, anger has its use. It's good for me to feel anger because it's like when I'm angry, I know something I care about or something I love has been manipulated or harm or trauma has been brought to it. And I'm not teaching you, therefore, how to overcome anger, but I'm teaching you tonight how to lay aside anger. You see, because anger is not a sin, but it can. Oh my goodness, I want you to listen to me on this one. Anger can easily become one. Anger can become a sin. And so anger becomes sin when it overtakes us, when it dominates us, when it begins to manage how we respond to any given situation. And when anger becomes our strategy, or worse, it becomes our subconscious strategy. We just start acting out in anger. We don't even know it, right? When it becomes our strategy, anger quickly turns into sin. And there's a difference between that or good anger and this anger we're talking about that can manage us. All right, and that's what we're after tonight. How can we be obedient, surrender to a God who created us to have anger, but not to be managed by it? All right, and so to do that, we have to ask this question. We got to ask this question. Go to the next slide for me. That question is, as I'm talking through text with my friend, what's really happening when we're angry? What is really going on inside of me when we're angry? You see, because in a fallen world, we tend to use anger as a way of managing our world, as a way of managing our affairs, our life, our schedules. We can use anger to manage those things, okay? And so we use anger to control outcomes in a fallen world. In a world that is inflicted by sin and brokenness, we'll use anger to control how something is going to turn out. We'll use anger to control conversation. We'll use anger to control people. We will use anger to control the feeling that things are slipping out of my hands. But My friends, when we come to be transformed by Jesus Christ and we give our life over to Christ, there's something different available to us where we don't have to live by anger. We don't have to let anger manage our affairs. No, because Christ has changed me at every dimension of my soul, I actually now can no longer be afraid. I don't have to be afraid now. You see, and well, what's the deeper question getting at here? What is anger really afraid of? When we are angry, what is it that we're actually afraid of? You know what we're actually afraid of when we're angry? Not getting our way. Oh gosh, go to the next slide. I think I have it here. When we are angry, that anger that manages us, that tries to control and dominate our life and dominate how we speak to someone we love, what's at work there, the anger that will break down our unity that Paul is talking about, which is why it's in Ephesians 4. It's because we have a fear of not getting our way. We have a fear of what we want, our desire, our will, that we often can love. We have a love associated with what we expect to occur in our children's life or on our job or in our own life. And when that does not happen, you see, we get angry. And that's all tied up into the soup of the fact that we are afraid of not getting our way. We're afraid of our being right and still it not happening. But you see, sinful anger is the fear of being right and someone not accepting you as being right. That's the sinful anger. You see, anger, you can be 100% right, but our anger comes from the fact that, you know what, you don't know I'm right. So let me help you understand. You don't see how I'm right, so let me spell it out for you. You don't quantify how I'm right about this situation, so let me break it down as I talk to you. You see? Anger comes from those sorts of ways. Jesus was always right. He was without sin. But he never sinned in anger because he didn't fear whether people knew he was right. When you see Jesus walking the earth and in his ministry, he doesn't fear that he does miracles and people don't believe him, some do, and he doesn't fear that whether or not people know he's right. He knows he's doing the business of the Father. He knows he's doing what he should be doing, and so he doesn't have a fear of what people think about, whether they know he's right. You see, except when we think about that time, I shouldn't say except, we think about that time when Jesus is in the temple and he flips over the tables, right? And even then, Jesus he's not going in the temple flipping tables because his anger is uncontrolled, which is sometimes how we can think about it. He going up in here, what's going on in my temple? What's going on? It's not that, no. He's intentionally turning over the tables because they were peddling money, okay? And they were cheating people on the tables. All right, and that's in Matthew chapter 21. And so because of the injustice, because of the exploitation, because of the manipulation of the worship center, Jesus went into the place where they were manipulating and exploiting, and he flipped that over. He was angry, but his anger was out of an authority to do something that was right. All right, so it wasn't uncontrolled anger. It wasn't mismanaged anger. All right, so we see anger is not bad to have when we submit it to a living God. Our sinful anger operates out of an ego of self-interest. And that's why it's different from Jesus. He never sinned being angry because for Jesus, it was never about his own ego. It was about loving the people who he was actually correcting for doing that in the temple. And it was for the love of the pilgrims who were traveling into Jerusalem to buy a new dove or lamb that had been damaged on their journey, but they needed a perfect one without blemish. And so they spiked up the cost. And so it was also out of Jesus' love for them that he flipped over the tables, out of love. As you think about your anger right now or lately, do you get angry at folks out of love? Out of love for them? That, my friends, is the anger that Jesus lived in. Getting angry out of, and as a parent, sometimes I get that anger. You know, it's like, oh no, wait, you just ran in the middle of the street, or no, I'm upset, and you about to hear it. Because you could have lost your life. You could have hurt your sibling. You could have, you see, it's like as a parent, I get angry sometimes, but there's sometimes I get angry for the wrong reasons. Lord help me. I need a strength every day. I need a strength every day. But what's really happening in us when we're angry? Well, I'm mad that I'm not getting my way. I'm afraid that I'm not going to get my way. So when Jesus transforms our mind and every dimension of our life, we begin to realize something surprising. We begin to realize something that is available to you at work, in your home, for yourself, for situations that have happened in the past, for someone who has hurt you, for someone who has done you wrong and you know you're right. You see, there's something that happens when we let Jesus transform us. And again, tonight, he will do it if you let him. Jesus will transform you if you let him. This is available for each and every one of us. And that is, we don't actually need anger to win. Sometimes we get angry because we're trying to fix the problem. But you know what? We don't need anger to fix the problem. You see, we don't need those things. So go to the next slide for me, because here's where it turns for us. We become dominated and controlled by anger because we believe in the crevices of our heart, because of our fears that we already talked about. We believe in the crevices of our soul that we need the anger to fix the problem, that we need the anger to correct the wrong. And because of that, our anger and our correction often come together, or our anger and how we show up often comes together. But something that has changed my life, and it changed my life because when we're in systems like at a job, maybe I used to work for the Army once upon a time, and so it's a very large system, you see, and sometimes getting things to change is almost impossible, you know. But I was waiting on something to come through for my department, and I'm like, man, what's going on here? And you know, I'm getting all angry over things I cannot control, things that I don't have any power over. But one time, I heard from Dallas Willard. And he read this, and if you go to the next slide, and I want to share this with you as you think about your anger. Anything you can accomplish with anger, you can accomplish without anger. Come on, Jesus. That we don't need the anger to accomplish the task that we are set out to accomplish. Whether it's talking to a spouse or talking to a child about something they've done wrong, right? Or something they stole or they've lied, right? It took me a long time because my automatic heat of the moment thought when say my kids do something that they know they shouldn't be doing, right? Okay, I mean, my heat of the moment thought, I get angry. Because for me, my love language is respect. So if I feel disrespect, I like step up real fast. Okay, that's just me personally. If I feel disrespect, I'm like, that's going to be the fastest way to make me upset and make me angry. All right, so now, but when I had to change that and realize I can actually still talk to my kids and get them to understand what I want them to understand, why it was important for them, why it's important for them to do the right thing or whatever it may be, I can accomplish it without anger. I don't need the anger to fix it. So do not let the sun go down on your anger. We're going to get to what Paul is saying because we talked about what's really happening when we're angry. We have a fear that we're not going to get our way. And tonight, it's so important because as we read what Jesus is teaching, in order for us to receive what Jesus teaches, we have to know that we don't need the anger to do what God has called us to do, to be the father, the mother, the business owner, the boss, the employee. Okay, we don't need the anger to accomplish the task, to accomplish the mission. We can accomplish it without it. Some of us as parents, we gotta discipline our children in cold blood. That's kind of almost what it is. You know, it's like it's almost like I'm not all like riled up. I'm like, just smooth with it. Like, this is what your consequence is. This is what your discipline is. What's that? You said something else? I'm doubling it. This is going to be, you got a cold blood discipline. That's what we got to do as parents with young children. That cold-blooded discipline, not being all caught up in the moment, right? Not letting it get the most of us. But how can we model what the gospel is inviting us to do is to lay down our anger and not let it manage us, so we can accomplish it without it. Okay, so go to the next slide for me, because I talked about one thing so far, which is what's really happening underneath our anger. Okay, and then I want to hit the second piece, okay, which is what happens when anger stays too long. What happens in our life when anger stays too long? Oh my goodness, I'm getting so excited about just this topic and the next one, the time we get to have together, because I really want you to know, if something I'm saying, you're recognizing, hey, I can work on some areas of my anger. Jesus can transform it. Jesus can transform it. With a contrite heart, sincere. You don't have to, you're coming in this place, we're learning, we're seeing what is real, but sometimes we can come into church and be like, well, that was cool to hear, or that's nice to think about. But we sometimes can fail to say, God, that's true, I need you. I need that to happen right now in my house, in my heart, and on my job. All right, so I want you to, again, approach the throne of grace with boldness, expecting God to give you what you need. All right, so when anger stays too long, what's happening? So this is where we come to Ephesians 4, right? Where Paul says, in your anger, do not sin, or be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger. So notice, right, Paul doesn't say, never be angry, right? Thank you. Can I get a witness? Paul never says, never be angry at your kids. No, listen, I keep ripping on my kids. I have lovely children. I love them, and I laugh so much with them. I realize sometimes I can give a, unbalanced thing because I tend to hype on something specific. But, anger, that's where it gets me mostly every day. And so that's where the temptation is. That's where the evil one is waiting by the door, sit by like a lion, seeking whom he might devour to pounce on me. That's that parenting door. It's my door right there. All right, so that's why I go there, not because my kids are not amazing. They really are. But what happens when anger stays too long? Jesus doesn't say, or Paul doesn't say, never be angry. He says, when he says, be angry and do not sin, he's saying, do not let the sun go down. He's saying, don't hold on to the anger. Don't hold on to it right now. What anger are you holding on? Just take stock of your soul. What anger are you holding on to right now? I'll transparency. I have some anger right now I'm holding on to. I was meeting with the Beyond leaders, Lord help me, the Beyond leaders a couple days ago, and I was telling them about some anger. I'm holding on to some anger right now, and it has nothing to do with the Church of Jesus Christ. It just has to do with life, and it can be hard to let go of it. But what the teaching is, don't let the sun go down, meaning don't hold on to it too long. We can do that with anger. We can let it stew and let it stay longer than it really is. But we got to treat anger like we treat pain. Pain isn't bad in itself, but you wouldn't really choose it. So that's how we approach anger. Anger is not bad in itself, but be very careful when you choose it. Almost try not to choose it, you see, if you're wise. Okay, so it means don't let the sun go down. It means don't live there. Don't live in anger. Don't make it your house. And the junior high and high schoolers are going to be sitting in the next Beyond Sunday. I got something specially just prepared for them as we continue to talk about anger. Okay, and continue talking about this. So I want to encourage you, if you have a junior high and high schooler, bring them to church next Beyond Sunday, because we're going to be talking together, continuing about this anger and the things I want to share with them. And so we don't want to let anger live there. We don't want to let anger become home, because here's the piece. When anger lingers, okay, it turns from pain to accusation. When anger lingers, it turns from pain and discomfort to accusation, and that is what starts trouble for us. So what is Paul going to say? And do not give the what? Or who? The devil. Do not give the evil one, the devil, look, evil in his name. Jesus, Lord help me. You know it's wrong. You know he ain't right when the evil in his name. Do not give the devil a foothold. Well, Paul, how do I give the devil a foothold just because I'm upset and just because I'm angry? You see, when accusation settles in, something else takes root. Something else takes root, gets a foothold in our souls, in our minds, in our hearts. The evil one. So when we let pain turn into accusation because anger has been staying around too long, we've been angry at the person, at the situation too long, the devil begins to now take authority in your life, okay? He begins to get a foothold. Just give him he just gets a step, you see. And why is that? Because we know from Job chapter 1 and Revelation chapter 20 that devil or Satan or Satan is the adversary, or in the Hebrew it's the adversary and the accuser. So when the devil went before the angel and Yahweh in his throne room, the accuser was up there. Well, he ain't going to, I bet you if you smite him, he'll curse you, God. You see, he's accusing Job of what he's going to do. Accusing. So the devil is known as an accuser. He is known as someone who lies on us, lies about your reputation, lies about your future, lies about God's adventure and mission in your life. Okay, so anger that stays too long becomes accusation because the accuser is there and now has a foothold. And so we start saying things like, I've been angry at him so long, so we start saying, I can't believe what he did. Or I can't believe she did this again to me. You see, I told him last time, if he said that one more time, I was gonna. We start giving footholds to the evil one, and he will do what he does best, which is will accuse everybody in your life. If he will accuse Job, mercy me. Yes, Lord, Heather. Accuse Job. What you think? You don't think he's gonna accuse you? Accuse your children? Accuse your spouse, accuse your boyfriend, your girlfriend. You don't think the devil gonna accuse you, accuse them? You see, this is what happens when anger sits too long. I can't believe what they just said to me. We start accusing people of things. And accusation fractures relationships. When you start coming to me talking about, well, Brandon, I told you, and Brandon, I said you shouldn't. When you start accusing me, and we use accusatory language, and when we're angry, oh my goodness. Paul is saying, not Pastor Brandon, Paul is saying the devil is taking root or taking space in our lives. We're giving room for the evil one to manage our situation and manage our affairs and manage our relationships with our children, our loved ones. So accusation, it fractures relationships, it fractures marriages, it fractures friendships, it fractures churches. Come on. And Ephesians is a letter about making the church a united witness of Jesus Christ, whom by our shared witness we declare to the worldly powers that their power has an expiration date. But you see, in order for the church to operate faithfully in the world, to announce to the worldly powers their expiration date because Jesus is coming back again, we have to be united. But the evil one wants to be in our midst to get us to accuse one another and then break us apart so we don't get to declare to the worldly powers that Jesus is coming back. You see the scheme of the evil one, Ephesians chapter 6. Be aware of the schemes of the evil one. You see, so we have to be aware of what's going on here. My goodness. See, in order to be free from the hold of the evil one in our life, in order to be free from the grip of sin and its hold around our neck. And that's how 1 Corinthians 15 describes sin. It describes sin as almost hands are having a grip around our neck. And when we can't live, we can't breathe, it's because sin is taking our airflow. But what Jesus did on the cross was break the grip of sin. Break the grip of sin on your life so that we don't have to live under that grip anymore. We can live under that grip when we let anger live too long and the evil one gets a foothold. We live under that grip, but we don't have to live under that grip because it's been broken by the blood of Jesus. It's been broken. So we can leave this place in God's presence, free from anger. And therefore, Jesus is not trying to suppress our anger. He's not trying to say, hold it down, son, or hold it down, daughter, and just don't feel. What they say in that Frozen, feel and don't, or conceal, or something like that. I forget it now, that popular scene. You know, I think the dad of Frozen told his daughter or something like that. Jesus is not saying suppress your anger. Forget about your anger. Jesus is not saying, no, you can't come to me with anger. No, Jesus is trying to free us from his domination. He's trying to free us so we can live, so we can love, so we can trust again. Trust again. Some things happened in the past. Look at my resume. Lord have mercy, where he brought me from. But because of what Jesus has done on the cross, we can trust again as we trust him, depend on him, call on him. He'll renew the areas that have been hurt. And so I only got time to leave it with this one, which is, and Jesus gives us 3 practices that bring freedom from being dominated by anger. 3 practices that Jesus says, if you practice these 3 things, you can be free from being dominated by anger. All right, so practice number 1, I'm going to leave you with this one. Practice number 1, go to the next slide for me. So what we need to pick up to practice, to release it, stop trying not to be angry. Oh my goodness. Sometimes in our anger, it's like, okay, I'm going to try to, we can suppress it because I'm not trying to be angry. Or we maybe don't see it. I'm going to act like I didn't see it. I'm going to act like I didn't hear it because I'm trying not to be angry. No, the practice is stop trying not to be angry. In order to lay aside anger in your life, you must stop trying not to be angry. And that comes from Romans chapter 12. Actually, can we go to the last slide where I have 3, I give the 3 practices. I won't give them all today, right? I won't go through them all today. But those 3 practices is 1, stop trying not to be angry. Secondly, don't fight anger with anger. So I just want you to get ready so you know where I'm going next time. Okay, don't fight anger with anger. That's not going to destroy the anger in your life. And then thirdly, be okay with not having things your way. Be okay with that. And Jesus teaches us and gives us practices to embody that so that we can walk in our life and accomplish everything God told us to accomplish. And we don't need anger to do it. Let me give you practice number 1 and we can go back to that slide then, Brandon. Thank you so much. So in Romans chapter 12, Paul sets up that what it means for us to get permission to explode almost. Or let me say it this way. In order to lay aside anger in our life, we must stop trying not to be angry. That doesn't mean give yourself permission to blow up on somebody. It means you got to take what's going on right now in your world. The things that are making you angry, that anger that has been maybe building roots in your soul, you want to take that, bring that, because what happens in Romans 12? Therefore, I urge you, brothers, and I wish I had time to tell you what the therefore was there for, what came before 12, but I don't got time. But I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies. Okay, first, so Jesus is not talking about suppress your anger. No, he wants you to offer that anger. So bring the things that make you angry. God knows what he done said to you, what he's done did to you, what he done lied about you and talked about you behind your back, what she's done said about you, what they said about your reputation. And oh my gosh, what a work it does on us to treat someone nice who has been mean to us. My Lord, that's where I'm struggling with my anger. I'm like, what I'm angry about, I don't want to treat you nice. But that's the hard work, my friends. That's where we go into the fire, but we come out as pure gold when we allow God to do that work. But we got to offer, don't suppress. This is not about hiding our emotions. This is not about acting like our emotions are not there. No, we want to offer our bodies. That's the physical things God has given us. It includes our emotion centers. All right? So to offer your body, so 1, as living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship, right, to offer it. So we're not running from it beyond. Okay, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good and pleasing and perfect will. Then you'll be able to have some clarity in life as we kind of let bring the anger to God. But we have to renew our mind. We have to let Jesus renew our mind. So we must let God transform it. Beloved, you got to let God transform your mind. You know, the mind is a battlefield. I can call the roll of scriptures that talks about how important it is, that sets the groundwork for how important it is for our minds to be thinking about the Lord, to have the Lord on our mind, right? And how that enables us to actually gain freedom from some things that are holding us back and down. Okay, I can think about Colossians chapter 3, which is set your thoughts on things above and not on things below. I could think about, Joshua chapter 1, verse 8. Do not let the words of this law depart from your mouth, but meditate on them day and night, so you may be careful to do everything that's written in them. Then your way will be prosperous and successful. I think about Isaiah. He whose mind is steady on the Lord, he will keep in perfect peace. Again, where our mind is this week, Beyond, is going to determine our fight with anger. Okay, I'm going to close out this one practice. So we must let God transform us at the level of our mind, at the level of what we're thinking about throughout the week and about that situation. So trying not to be angry actually makes anger the center. When I'm trying not to be mad at my spouse or someone because of what they have said, I'm actually making anger the center of it all, instead of offering the anger to the Lord. All right? So the mind is like a library. When you go to a library, you're trying to do a research paper on physics, or maybe like Kawaku, because Kawaku is a good brother, a pharmacist by day, but also in school right now to be a doctor. Where he at? He's in here. He's coming around here. But this brother stay studying. Okay? And so when you go to a library, right, you go to a library, you're trying to pull a resource out, right, in order to help you live or write your paper. Our brains, our minds are kind of like a library. And renewing your mind means allowing God to put new books on the shelves. My friends, let me tell you something. This is why we come to church. This is why we read our Bible. This is why we pray, because every time we do that and we surrender to the Jesus who's transforming us at every level, he gives us new books, new resources for the shelves of our library. He will renew the mind. Because right now, if we're honest, we're pulling from books that we read and picked up when we were kids, or we read and picked up and we saw how someone in our family talked to somebody, or how they dealt with anger. So we utilize those resources. We utilize the mind that we've gathered from the patterns of the world, and we see how other people in the world are going through things. And so we've conformed our library out of the worldly patterns. But to let Jesus transform us at every level of who we are and our mind, it means every time you come to church, you hear the word of God preached to you. Every time you sing a song of worship, every time you bow to your knees and use your knees as feet to stand before a gracious and majestic God and ask for forgiveness, he is renewing. He's putting new resources for you to deal with the situation that you need to deal with. He's renewing your mind. So today, that first practice that we're ending on is, you got to let God, ask God fervently, renew my mind. Because if we're honest, worship team, come on up. We've been operating on a library, on a mind that is outdated. We have not let God renew it. We have not let God put new books on the shelf. Books of 1 Corinthians 13, love is patient. Love is kind. Love keeps no record of wrongdoings. Love perseveres. Love protects. We have not let Jesus add a book to the library, so the things we're pulling from, we're operating from what we have. But what we have is insufficient for what's required. And so tonight, if you're just willing to start there with practice number 1, let God renew your mind. Let him give you a new library. And every time you get angry, every time you want to tell somebody off, every time you feel that anger popping up, when you have a renewed mind, you'll start automatically pulling from the resource that God has given you. His spirit, his very life. His forgiveness, His grace, His mercy. So tonight, if we're all gathered here tonight and we say, hey, you know, yeah, I'm not super angry kind of guy, Pastor Brandon, I submit to you. My Lord have mercy. Look at the roots, but allow God to transform your mind. And if you're willing to let God do that, that's practice number one. As you go through this week, as you think about that situation, that really tough situation, and start playing, get me going, because you know I got to slow down. I got to get off this stage. And come start singing. Bless you. What song are we singing? Oh, yes, Lord. Thank you, Rachel. It never gets old. You see, because that situation you're facing, one time I'm going to leave this as the last story. I was talking with someone who's going through a really bad relational breakup. And, you know, he had kids. And he was like, you know, I just don't, the way she's talking to me and the way and the things that she's doing, it just ain't right. It's not right. And I'm worried for my kids. I'm worried about what they're going to think about me, what they're going to think about the situation. And I just get so angry. I said, I know. And I said to him, as you think about how you handle the situation, think about the story you'll want to tell one day. Everyone in the situation ain't going to see that you're right now. They can't see that you're right. But what story do you want to tell? You want to be able to say one day, you know, this is what I did. This is the decisions I made. This is what I did. Even when they scandalized my name, this is what I said about them. What story do you want to tell? When you get called up on that good and great day, we stand before God's throne and He says, son, what's been going on? And you're going to have to say at that moment, you're going to have to decide, you're going to have to tell God the story. But what story is it that you want to tell? Is it about how you gave in to anger? Is it about how you always let him take everything from you? Is it about how you always let her or them take all your peace and steal your joy? Or is it going to be, God, I trusted you and I didn't know how to. God, you are worthy and I praised you even though I didn't have nothing. When I was upset with him and upset with them, I trusted you to give me more. I trusted that you had my plans to build me up and not to harm me. I trusted that you saw my future and that you held my kids and that you held my finances. That is what I'm telling God. So I ask you, what story do you want to tell God one day? As we stand on our feet tonight, we're going to be able to take that first step in practice of receiving a transformed mind. And you know who you are. So as we sing, just let the worship sing over you. You can sing with it. And I want to come back and just pray that we can begin by Christ's power to break the loose and the grip that sin has on our life. As we worship.
The more I see, the more I find to love, the more I know, the more I can't withhold my heart. I'm still amazed by who you are. And somehow it never gets old, telling you you're holy. And somehow it never gets old, telling you you're lovely. Somehow it never gets old, telling you you're worthy. For as long as I live, I'll never get tired of giving you praise. Somehow it never gets old, telling you you're holy. Telling you you're holy. Somehow it never gets old, telling you you're lovely. Telling you you're lovely. Somehow it never gets old, telling you you're worthy. For as long as I live, I'll never get tired of giving you praise. How can there be more when you've already been so good? How can there be more when you've already been so kind? What else can I say? I'm still amazed by you. How can there be more? How can there be more when you've already been so